It's Friday, August 16th, 2024. Welcome to episode 116 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Peeler. In this edition of the Postcast, a multi-billion-dollar ballot initiative is scrapped. A filing extension results in changes to November's local elections. A natural recipe for cleanup at Alameda Point. A new jigsaw puzzle can pass the time and help the Bay. Pacific Pinball unlocks the doors to the Annex, and the Post introduces a new weekly feature to help you plan your weekend and beyond. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story. Last week, and in episode 109, I discussed the proposed bond referendum put on the ballot by the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority. The bond was set to raise $20 billion in funds for the 9 Bay Area counties through a property tax increase. The total cost of the bond was estimated to be $48 billion with the debt retired in 2077. What a difference a week makes. Wednesday morning, the board of the Finance Authority voted to scrap the measure for now, likely delaying the referendum until at least 2026. This comes just 2 months after the board voted unanimously to place the borrowing plan on this year's ballot. The change of heart was born out of concerns about the public's appetite for costly new measures, a pending lawsuit against the regional bond, and worry about another measure on the ballot, Proposition 5. That statewide constitutional amendment would make it easier to pass local and regional affordable housing and infrastructure bonds by lowering the necessary electoral threshold for victory from 2/3 of voters to 55%. Opponents of the measure filed a lawsuit against the Bay Area Authority last week, arguing that language describing the measure that would be listed in voter guides as, quote, false and or misleading, end quote. The executive board of the authority already acted on one of those claims, fixing what it described as a mathematical error. The annual cost of the measure was originally stated as $670 million. The corrected value was nearly $911 million. That's a $241 million mistake. Whenever something this big gets canceled this fast, especially after years of preparation, you can imagine a lot of people have a lot to say. Ben Christopher of Cal Matters has the complete story at alamedapost.com/news. Last week on alamedapost.com, we reported on the candidates who had filed and qualified to appear on November's ballot for offices affecting Alameda. Unfortunately, we incorrectly stated that the nomination period for all offices had closed when actually the period was extended until Wednesday the 14th for offices where an incumbent had not filed for re-election. Several people took advantage of the extension and will stand for office in the November 5th general. Malia Hall, a teacher and data analyst, filed and qualified for the ballot for the AUSD Board of Governors. She joins incumbents Heather Little and Jennifer Williams, along with CPA Joyce Boyd. That brings the tally of candidates competing for the 3 seats to 4. Incumbent Margie Sherritt declined to run for another term, stating in an email to the Alameda Post that, quote, it is time for new candidates, end quote. Other races that saw changes thanks to the extension: 3 candidates to replace Doug Linney as Ebmud District 5 representative in a race that previously only had 1. And now there are 4 folks vying to be the Ward 4 representative for the East Bay Regional Park District. Some races will not appear on the ballot at all. Healthcare District Board, Auditor, and Treasurer all saw no challengers to the incumbents. As the election draws closer, the Alameda Post is your go-to resource for the races that affect you. With 5 candidates competing for 2 city council seats, you'll want to mark your calendar for Saturday, September 28th, when the Post presents a candidates forum at the Mastic Senior Center starting at 2 p.m. If you can't make it in person, the forum will be recorded and posted online. For a complete look at how the extension has reshaped the ballot, see Adam Gillett's article at alamedapost.com/news. And don't forget to bookmark alamedapost.com/election. That's where you'll find all the latest information on the races that affect you. Don't forget, you've got until October 21st to register for the November 5th general election. As we've reported many times here on the Postcast, part of what makes the transition process from the old Naval Air Station to the current Alameda Point so slow is the remediation process required for so much of the land. For much of the 20th century, the concept of waste disposal boiled down to out of sight, out of mind. That was certainly the case when the Navy was using trichloroethylene, or TCE, to degrease engine parts. That resulted in 19 contaminated acres near Building 360. That area basically runs from the current Astra facility to the road by the Seaplane Lagoon Ferry Terminal. The maze of underground pipes creates a bit of a logistical nightmare for fixing the problem and prevents the use of certain chemical cleaners. However, Mother Nature has an answer. Dihalococoides, a bacteria that essentially breathes TCE and over time breaks it down into carbon dioxide and water. That is a gross oversimplification, but that's the end result. What does the bacteria need to thrive? A lack of oxygen and a carbon source. And that carbon source sounds like a funky milkshake. Soybean oil, lactose, baking soda, and vitamin B12. The process has been going on since 2017 and is getting near the point at which commercial enterprises can work without fear of harmful vapors. Sure, it's a slow process, but a comparatively safe one, and when it is finished, the transfer of land from the Navy to the city can be completed. I've barely scratched the surface of this fascinating process. Our environmental correspondent Richard Banger takes you deep inside the science behind the cleanup effort in his article at alamedapost.com/news. Staying on the subject of the environment for a moment, the folks at San Francisco Baykeeper have been doing their part to keep our waters clean for 35 years now. To celebrate and to help Baykeeper fund their efforts, Oakland Puzzle Company is releasing a beautiful 500-piece puzzle. The 16 by 24-inch puzzle is called Under the Bay and features artwork by Fiorella Ikeyue, a Bay Area-trained artist with a master's in science illustration. Her artwork features 16 species that live in and around the bay. So get a puzzle for the dissectologist in your life and do some good while you're at it. You can get the story behind the puzzle, a look at the artwork, and an ordering link at alamedapost.com/features. Another spectacular start, another no decision for Bryan Woo. Wednesday in Detroit, Bryan threw 7 innings of scoreless baseball, allowing 4 hits, all singles, no walks. Struck out 6, throwing 85 pitches, 61 for strikes. He left the game with a 1-run lead, but the bullpen couldn't hold on. Tigers triumphed 3-2 in 10 innings. Detroit is probably glad to have seen the last of Bryan for this regular season. In a span of 7 days, he held the Tigers to 3 runs over 13 2/3 innings and was the starter in Seattle's only win out of their 6 meetings. The scoreless start dropped Woo's ERA to 2.06, his record still 5-1, now 8 no decisions. He looks to continue his success on Monday in Los Angeles against the NL West leading Dodgers. As most of my listeners know, I'm an avid pinball fan. We're fortunate to have the Pacific Pinball Museum here in Alameda. As I mentioned before, what you see on Webster Street, only a fraction of their collection. Once again, this weekend, PPM unlocking the doors to the Annex for a flash sale to benefit their ongoing efforts. Located in Building 169, that's the opposite side of the old Pottery Barn warehouse. Your chance to own a piece of Americana. They're selling machines, back glasses, and more. Sale runs noon to 3 on Saturday. Phantom of the Opera, Kiss, Evel Knievel, just a few of the titles up for sale. Details on Pacific Pinball's Facebook page. If you've never been to the Annex, it's spectacular. What a collection. Speaking of history, our next walking history tour takes a look at 3rd Street from Taylor to Pacific. You'll learn about the failed Peralta Wharf and much more. This Saturday, next Sunday, details and tickets at alamedapost.com/tours. Our updated events calendar is a huge success. Of course, more choices can be overwhelming. To help you sort it out, our content manager and event editor, Amanda Laird, will be seeking out the very best for you. All Around Alameda, her weekly column, will provide details about events in the upcoming week that are worth your time. Sometimes, like this week, there will be a theme. This week, it's good excuses to stretch your legs. Look for All Around Alameda every Thursday morning at alamedapost.com/features, and you'll also find it in the Friday newsletter. As I mentioned last week, we've got an easier way for you to access our fully expanded calendar, 94501.info. That's the numbers 95401. And the letters INFO. Taking a look at some of the events not featured in Amanda's column this week. Friday, or so it would seem, a giant puppet voyage into the hidden universe at Gene Sweeney Park with String and Shadow Puppet Theater. Saturday, the Farmers Market from 9 to 1. Take a kayak tour of Seaplane Lagoon with Stacked Adventures from 9:30 to 11:30. 13 and up, no experience necessary. Hey, if I can do it, anyone can. Jazz Mafia's Grateful Brass with the Stickler Phonics at Radium Runway. Ever wonder what would happen if you combine jazz and the Grateful Dead? Find out Saturday at Radium Runway. Sunday, drag yourself to brunch at Alameda Comedy Club. Check out all the other events at 94501.info. Remember, school is back in session, so do be extra careful because traffic patterns, both those on wheels and on foot, have completely changed since last week, so pay a little extra attention. Keep your eyes on the road. And a big shout out to Brees, our cartoonist for Two Birds from Alameda, for asking a very important back-to-school question. Why is one mascot strangely missing from Alameda schools? Thank you for your support of local news for Alameda. To give a tax-deductible donation, head to alamedapost.com/memberships. Remember, you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, MSN, YouTube, Mastodon, Threads, Blue Sky, as well as our own subreddit. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on Apple News. Find the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, or simply tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler, back next Friday with episode 117 of the Alameda Postcast.